back to Living Out Loud. I'm Susan Karp, the Executive Director of the Arlington Council on Aging, and Happy New Year to all of you. Today I'm very fortunate to have two great guests. I have Erica Johnson, who's the Executive Director of Cooperative Elder Services, and I have Abby Ferreira, who is their Outreach Coordinator for Cooperative Elder Services. One of the reasons that I have asked both Erica and Abby to join us today is that through the Council on Aging, we have a grant through the town through the CDBG funding. So CDBG is Community Development Block Grant. So we are one of the beneficiaries of that grant, and the Council on Aging is very, very grateful. That funding provides a $4,000 in total scholarship to about 14 Arlington residents. Now, I'm not going to steal your thunder, Erica, but I just wanted to give a little bit of information as to some of the funding sources for this organization and how we partner in the community. So I'd actually like to turn it over to you ladies. Thank you for joining me. Really appreciate it. It's a little chilly today, but we're nice and toasty here in the studio. And I'm wanting you to let us know a little bit about Adult Day Health. What is it? What is it?
Yeah. So Adult Day Health, the purpose is really to help people stay living in the community as long as possible, and more importantly, being able to stay in their own homes. We serve a variety of people who might be dealing with chronic medical illness, and as such, it's become challenging for them to be either home alone during the day, or if there's a caregiver, the caregiver might just be really getting limited with how much support they can directly offer their loved one. We also work with adults with disabilities who, again, it's a safety matter for them to be home.
Right.
And our programs really offer a place for people to come. And it's just a day program. They come, we're open Monday through Saturday. People can come up to 6 days. Some people choose to just come 2 or 3 days. But what they get while they're there is, first of all, socialization. There's a variety of activities offered. They meet and make lovely friends, and they're getting out of their home. Then we also have the medical oversight. We have licensed nursing staff on site all day.
Oh,
yeah.
All right.
That's really a critical component. And it's what that's the aspect that really allows people then to remain living at home, is that they can have that ongoing medical care when they come to the program. Our nurses are often in frequent contact with people's primary care doctors, with their specialists, and that just really provides that kind of all-around collaboration to keep people healthy and maintain their stability.
All right. Now, I'm going to ask something, and it may make the hair stand up on the back of your neck, but certainly with programs such as this, there's a great misunderstanding of Adult Day Health.
Yes.
I have encountered individuals as we're counseling in our office, or just communicating to others, is that some actually refer to it as a babysitting or as adult daycare.
Yes.
So I'd like you to reemphasize the difference between what many people believe as adult daycare versus adult day health.
Yes.
So if you could just touch on that again.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you brought that up. That is unfortunately such a very large stigma that's out there.
Well, they think I'm a nursing home, so if I get it, so can you.
Yes, exactly. And it really is. There's so many facets to the services that are out there for people. It's easy to maybe not comprehend what it is, and why we say we are not a daycare, we're not a babysitting service, is because we have a very vibrant activities program. And in fact, everyone at admission goes through an activities assessment so that staff can learn what are their actual interests, what do they want to be doing while they're there. We believe in healthy aging, so no matter the level of medical condition or disability, we offer exercise during the day. There's exercise programs, there's walking programs. We have several men's groups. We know that's the other aspect to it, is sometimes women might be more open to coming, and a lot of men, once they join us, they find it's really like a club. They come in, they have their table of their gentlemen friends, and they can play cards. it's really geared towards allowing people to choose what they want to do while they're there. So it's active and it's fun.
Yeah, no,
it's not. Yes,
but
it
really it's and I'm serious. Many people, until they've come in through our doors or had an opportunity to work with our staff or talk to our staff or attend the programs, many people think that a council on aging is one step to a nursing home, and that couldn't be further from the truth. Yeah. So I think this is good that you're putting a face to Cooperative Elder Services, that you're distinguishing yourself. You are not a babysitting. This is an active, active and interactive program in a safe setting. Yeah. So, who would be a good fit for adult day health through Cooperative Elder Services?
Sure, I think Erica touched on this, but anyone who is dealing with a chronic illness, needs some medical oversight, might be appropriate. We have folks that are socially isolated because their health is just interfering with their ability to take part in social activities. And also, this is also for caregivers that need a much needed break and can be reassured that their loved ones are being cared for.
Okay, so I think this is actually a pretty good point to stress. So for caregivers, so families and friends provide care for their loved ones. They provide care that could basically be skilled nursing in many circumstances.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We do it out of love. We do it out of commitment. We do it because we can, and we do. And we do that because we don't always know about the resources of adult day health. Yeah. So this piece here is to make sure that we all understand that. But for the caregivers at home, and for those of us in aging services, we either have personal experiences or we know of people that are doing it. A caregiver's job is 36 hours a day. So yourselves, because you see the folks coming in, the caregivers who are probably more at the end of the line of their energy because they either didn't know about you or there was some stigma against letting go of some of that caregiving in a safe environment. You're not farming your loved one off to an institution. Absolutely. You're not only giving yourself a break, but you're also providing an opportunity to be, and I'll just use the example of a husband and wife, or for our LGBT community, wives, husbands, to address that too. But you just don't think about not doing. Right. And you become exhausted, and you find that it's a stigma if you take your family member there, because that means that you can't do it. Absolutely. And wouldn't it be nice if, as we take a look at this, is that you're providing your loved one some social interaction, which allows you to do a little less caregiving, and you can return to the companionship piece instead of always, I need to do this for you. Do you need help to go to the bathroom? Do you need help with food? And that's the piece that I really want people to see as far as, when you're looking at adult day health, when you're looking at who do you serve? Well, you serve the individual who needs the care, but you're also serving that caregiver. Absolutely. And if as a caregiver, again, if you can think about giving yourself a little bit of respite so that you can enjoy a different type of interaction with your loved one, even if it means the coming and going at Cooperative Elder Services. So, Abby, I appreciate you, highlighting that a bit. So now I'm going to say, what is a typical day? If there is such a thing as a typical day.
Well, we have a fairly structured day. They come in approximately around 9 o'clock. They can come in later if they're a late riser. They want to come in around 10 o'clock, but 9 o'clock is when we start the program. 9:30 we have what we call a coffee social. Time for them to socialize, have a light breakfast. At 10 o'clock, they break for their exercise groups. We have seated exercise, stretching. We use a lot of music.
We've
have
incorporated yoga recently.
Yoga,
yes.
Oh, great,
Yes,
great.
yeah.
So you have like a chair yoga, or do you have them on the mats on the floor?
Right now, chair.
Yeah.
Chair. It's, we offer that in our center, and it really is something that everybody can do.
And I think it's that continuity, sorry not to break in, but what we found is people who have maybe attended programs at the senior center, and then because of their health, it's just not an appropriate fit for them any longer, so they've then segued into us. They like that there's some continuation of what they knew and what they're comfortable with and enjoyed. Good. So.
We use a lot of music, songs that they are familiar with, a lot of singing. We have a Fit for Life program where they use hand weights.
So you have a Fit for Life. Okay, I've heard that one.
Yeah.
So at 11 o'clock, we have a more discussion-oriented groups. We have reminiscing, current events, and then we offer a small group activity as well, maybe a card game, music, singing, different small group activities as well. And then we have a hot lunch at noontime. 1:30, we have afternoon programming, which can include live entertainment, music, gardening, games, bingo, arts and crafts.
It really varies. I was going to say it really varies just based on who is the group that's there that day. We really make sure month to month our activities calendar is changed up. Keep it interesting. There are some favorites that people request over and over again, so we try to keep those.
I'm sure.
And I also want to just say too, our hot lunches is another kind of really important asset or aspect of the program, because it's overseen by a registered dietitian, and it's really viewed as an opportunity for people to get that full, complete meal that's got all the basic food groups that need to be touched on, because we recognize a lot of people living on their own or living with a caregiver who might also be aging or not as able to cook a big dinner and make a feast every day. We make sure that they can get that while they're at the program.
Wow. Wow. That sounds great. That sounds great. So Abby, do you have a hand in creating those programs or bringing them?
So we have activity staff that organize the calendar, and then it's also overseen by an occupational therapist as well.
All right. So again, you have all the different professions, different disciplines coming in to support the efforts. So now this program, again, it's Monday through Friday.
Saturday.
Oh, Monday through Saturday.
Yes, our Arlington Center is open on Saturdays as well.
Wow.
Yes,
so that runs from 9 in the morning.
Yeah, we say 9 to 3. There is definitely flexibility with that. We have some families and participants who choose to come in a little earlier, and then they'd like to end their day a little earlier. We have some folks who use it what we call an extended day. So because of their family needs or their preference, they might choose to stay an hour or two longer at the end of the day. Those people who are living with maybe adult children who are working really find that helpful as well. So
that's great. And no one comes in kicking and screaming. So
well, I can say at first they might, you know, and that's something that we really try to support the caregivers through, is that it's a change, you know, and to touch back a little bit on what you were mentioning previously is, you know, people are coming to us who technically could be eligible for nursing home placement, and their family, their financial situation, whatever it might be, they really do not want to go that route. So there is a lot of the kind of emotional aspect to it, as far as just really coming to terms with where their loved one may be at, with their own feelings about changes that are occurring. So we offer that support that, you know, the participant themselves might be a little resistant, but we can absolutely say with certainty that give it up to 2 weeks, and by the end of that, they are going to be asking to come more days. And
well, no, absolutely. And I think back, you know, even with my mother. All right, so my mother fits a definition of somebody that had Alzheimer's, so cognitive decline. Now I realize that's not the exact definition of every single person that participates, because your population is varied. I noticed that when my mother had stimulation, that she actually, even as her Alzheimer's progressed, that she was more interactive.
Yes.
So there was a level of brightness that was in her world as a result of increased stimulation.
Absolutely.
So when you think about that, when you're at home and thinking about caregiving, certainly a benefit that I'm not sure we've really talked about is that benefit of what increased stimulation does. It does not put anything in remission. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
But it at least provides, it may provide a little bit of brightness or alertness when it comes to cognitive, and it was so classic when we saw it with my mother. But my father was the caregiver. They lived 3,000 miles away. When we could bring them to our home and interacting with the dog, with the adult grandchildren, with anybody else that came through our house, because we kept it very active. There was a difference, and to just and it's these enjoy these days is really so certainly the programs I could see how can tap into living life at its best where you are with your disease and other things. So no, that's great. So how do people find you? That's a good one, because you know what, adult day health is, as hard as you work about educating, and hopefully with today's program we're educating more of you, but how do people find you?
They find us through various routes, and that's one thing that as an organization we are a private nonprofit, and our goal is to really give back to the communities that we have been serving, and one of that is really expanding our outreach efforts, and that's Abby's actually in a position that was just the organization we created about a year ago, because we really recognize the need to be doing more outreach and not solely focus on the service we have to offer, but also outreach in terms of the whole variety of supports, community-based supports that are out there. So we try to work very closely with the COAs in the towns, and I know that
I was just going to say that would be one of the resources. Blow that little whistle.
Critical resource to the families in Arlington, and so that. What we've really been trying to do is find new ways to get out and let people know about us. We also have recognized that a lot of people are more familiar with bringing caregivers into their home, paid caregivers. So, home health aides, for example. That can be a costly service. If you look at, you're getting a minimum of 6 hours of full services at a day program versus if you were to have a paid caregiver come into your house for those 6 hours each day, it's significantly less expensive to go our route. But what we found is, and by all means, home health aides are a critical caregiving support. And when we collaborate, we actually collaborate with quite a few agencies, because it's the mix of families accessing. This is just an example.
So Minuteman Senior Services is probably one of your other resources.
Absolutely.
So Minuteman Senior Services is our right arm in the community. So Minuteman Senior Services, as a result of how there are our ASAPs, our Aging Services Access Point. It is income, there's a criteria for income to receive services either for free. There's other services that can receive as a copay, but Minuteman Senior Services is a companion with Council on Aging, even though we're separate organizations, and they're a feeder into Cooperative Elder Services. And I want to point out, though, Erica, is that Cooperative Elder Services, even though you're in different communities, you are the only adult day health service in Arlington. So that's something that we didn't say on the front end, but that's something important for our audience to know about, is that right here in Arlington, adult day services exists. So you might be thinking of some of the senior living communities that might have Alzheimer's units. Those are, you're living there. Adult day health is where you're living at home, and you're still able to live at home with care or home aides, home health aides at home, as well as loved ones caring for you, but also having an opportunity to seek the services through Cooperative Elder Services.
And just to touch a little bit on our partnership with the ASAPs, we are actually contracted with them, and they do, again, depending on eligibility, they fund a few days of the program for us, as well as some transportation trips.
And that's important to know, because adult day health services, it is, because of the depth and the diversity and the different programming and the care from all the different disciplines, you know, occupational therapist, the nurse, there is a fee tied to it.
Yes, there is.
Don't run away from it.
Yeah.
Start talking to Adult Day Health. Start talking to Cooperative Elder Services. Talk to the Council on Aging. Talk.
Yes.
Because if you don't talk, you don't get that question out. You may not get information that might end up helping you as well as the one that you're caring for.
Absolutely. I think funding is a, you know, it can be something someone could jump to right away, and that's where, in fact, the scholarship funds that we receive through CDBG, you know, are so helpful to the Arlington residents who come to the program. And people also, we have service coordinators at each of our programs, including Arlington, that they really help families explore all funding options.
Right.
So that if someone is calling us and saying we're not sure what we might be eligible for, they will make sure they get in touch with the Aging Service Access Point to see, are they eligible for that? If they're not, what scholarship options can we offer? If they're going to have to be private pay, Mass Health also will actually fund all 6 days as well as round-trip transportation. So if someone has Mass Health Standard, then funding is actually not an issue at all. So, but yeah, we're used to having to explore that.
Well, it sounds like you guys are doing a great job. So if someone is considering Cooperative Elder Services for a loved one, what are some important considerations that you want someone to hear?
Yeah, I think it's really looking at what is happening in your loved one's life, what's happening with you as the caregiver. Are you finding that it's getting harder and harder as the day ends to really get through and that towards that next day and ensure that not just that your loved one is safe, but that you're feeling okay yourself. You're not reaching the burnout point. And I can say when we've had caregivers find us when burnout has already set in, they so quickly end up telling us, we wish we had found you months ago. We are finding people somewhat come to us a little bit too late. Not too late, but they're too advanced maybe with what's happening medically as well as what the caregiver might be experiencing.
Right.
So we always say, just call us. I think the first step is, if you're not quite sure, if you're uncertain, just give us a call. Abby would actually be the person who would take that initial call, and she would just kind of walk you through what is happening. Do you want to come and just tour a program? We invite people in. Our doors are open. Stop in, see what the program is actually like.
Well, and I think it's important. So, for now, you can look at what Abby looks like because you're seeing her. She's a person just like you and I. You have a name and a face. So I think the hardest thing is that once you do know that Cooperative Elder Services exists, it's then getting over that hurdle of, oh, I can do it. I don't want to seem like a failure to my family or that I have failed my loved one, because you have a lot of that internal conversation. That committee in someone's head sometimes has got, more than 10 people yakking at you with this, no, you shouldn't do this. Yes, you should do this. No, I can do this. No, I can't do this. And even to the point of, caregiving, sometimes you end up not liking the person you're caring for because it's so darn hard and there is no relief. And that doesn't mean that you don't always love somebody, but it is really, really hard.
And I think one thing that we find that caregivers mention to us, those in particular that maybe waited a while, they had heard of us, but they weren't there yet. They couldn't get themselves. And once they have, collaborated with us, they're bringing their loved one in, we do find that they tell us pretty quickly the socialization piece. They never really understood the impact that can have, and I know we've touched on that.
It is just huge, and you see it more than I do, because mine was really, that intense moments, those moments that I saw were really just in my home, but it's not like you're guaranteed, but the stimulation, there's no argument against the stimulation. I mean, it's all positive.
And there's so many studies that have shown the overall impact on health is so positive when you are getting that stimulation. And and
if the caregivers can also step back and say, wow, I actually have an hour and a half where I'm not answering questions, because honestly, caregivers also forget how to have relationships with people, because as a caregiver, you're kind of taking orders and you're doing. You know, so it's really, I mean, this is very refreshing. I think, you know, adult day health, you know, when you realize that yes, you're the one we're talking to that really needs it. It might be scary because you're also recognizing, and I'm saying scary because you might be recognizing that your family member is advancing beyond what you're able to help, and when something advances, that means that that finish line seems a little bit closer than you're ready to, you know, to really, you know, have to process. Right. But certainly something that has been lacking that is now coming about are the memory cafes, and I do want to tag this on to this because, you know, memory cafe are programming that includes caregivers and their loved one with cognitive decline. So it's a program that is safe, it's comfortable. We find that sometimes people become, you know, either the person who's experiencing the cognitive decline is becoming more isolated because they realize it's harder for them maybe to carry on a conversation. You could have a loved one that is not wanting to go out because they feel embarrassment over, you know, over their loved one's either inappropriate comment. And these are extreme. I mean, it's just, you know, I'm just giving some examples. This isn't across the board. But, you know, in Arlington, we have started one. We've partnered with the Brightview in Arlington on Sims Road. So the Council on Aging and Brightview of Arlington have created the Arlington Bright Day Memory Cafe. So no one's trying to, you know, talk you into going to any one thing, but it's a wonderful program in Arlington. It is the first Monday of every month, regardless of a holiday. You know, it's free of charge. Free parking. It's a wonderful environment. It's been a great partnership with Brightview between the Council on Aging. I know that Abby's involved in the Lexington Memory Cafe. And the Memory Cafe concept really is to have a network of memory cafes so that the caregivers and their loved ones can pick and choose throughout different communities. They're set at different days, different times. When we're establishing and we're trying to create it so that we're not butting up against another one. And again, these are wonderful opportunities where both caregiver and loved one can come together in a safe environment, safe and secure environment. In terms of just how you're feeling. Safe and secure has got two things. Safe and secure with adult day health is, yes, the socialization and the understanding and the caregiving, but it also has an environment that has clinical support. So a memory cafe doesn't really have clinical support, we have staffing support. So I encourage you, if you're wanting more information on Memory Cafe, to give me a call in my office, or Christine Angel, who's my assistant. And you know, 25 minutes, we never have enough time to cover everything, but is there anything else, you know, we have the opportunity to distinguish between adult day health services and all that you do versus, you know, whether it's adult daycare, which we know it isn't. This is a professional group with all kinds of bells and whistles. We know that through the town of Arlington, we have community development block grant funds to help about 13 Arlington residents. We can do a scholarship up to $300 per person in a fiscal year. You know, so it's something. So it's enough to dip your toe into it if you're wanting to experiment a little. And the memory cafes, which is something that both, you know, caregiver and loved one can attend. So, you know, there's a lot that we can't cover, but you probably get like 2 or 3 seconds left to...
I would say just come check us out. We are having an open house.
Perfect.
So if you just are uncertain, it's a really just relaxed time to come in, see the program in action, hear a little bit more about it, have any questions you might have answered on the spot.
And what day is that?
So it's on...
That'll be Wednesday, February 1st.
Wednesday, February 1st. At what time?
At 10 o'clock from 10 to 12.
10 to 12.
Stop in any time.
And the location on Broadway?
Yes, 37 Broadway.
Okay, and that's where the Leahy building is, right?
It is. We're actually in the same building as
So there's
Leahy.
no excuse for you not finding Cooperative Elder Services because your Cooperative Elder Services isn't on the outside of the building.
We're on a small sign.
You're on a small sign, so I want you to know who are listening. If you are free on February 1st between 10 and noon, that you want to think Arlington, Leahy Arlington as the building, and you are in the first floor.
Yes, we are. And we'll actually have a big placard out front that day.
So there's no excuse. So I certainly hope that this segment on cooperative elder services and a greater understanding of adult day health services maybe hits home with somebody that is at home that didn't know that it was about. But we thank you. Thank you for joining us until we see you again on Living Out Loud. Thank you.